Welcome everybody to round number 5 of the International GTOpen here from Spa. My name's Chris McCarthy. Thank you very much for tuning in with us. Race number 2 coming up, 60 minutes on the clock. Driver changes will happen between 24 and 36 minutes. This is the longest track on the calendar, one I'm sure you all know very well. We've had some fantastic racing around here over the years, and we had a fantastic one yesterday as well. We had a fantastic qualifying session going with the trend because we broke the GT3 lap record around here at Spa and broke it by some distance as well. David Perel previously had the GT3 lap record of 2:15.441. Vincent Abriel this morning did a 2:13.724, so we broke it by some margin. And also, we have the fastest ever GTE time around this circuit. So quicker than the guys, quicker than what the guys are doing at the FIA World Endurance Championship, and quicker by some distance as well. So these cars go very quickly around here, and we had a brilliant race yesterday, which was won by Louis Pret and Vincent Abriel, and that was significant for the championship because it means we only now have 1 point between AF Corsa, who will start from pole position, and Teo Martin Motorsport, who will start from 3rd place. They originally did qualify on pole position. That lap time, as soon as it was set, was straight away under investigation. It got deleted, and hence they start from 3rd place. That means that TF Sport, who are 3rd in the title race, are boosted up to the front row. So Charlie Eastwood will be starting from the outside of row number 1. They sit 17 points back from Enrique Chavez and Miguel Ramos. So Chavez and Ramos are on 93, Pret and Abriel 92. Ulick and Eastwood are then on 76. Now, they could do with a win here to keep the, I wouldn't say keep the title hopes alive, because they still will be going into the final round, but to be significantly in the fight, to have pressure on the top 2, they could really do with taking a win here. They've got a chance to get some points over AF Corsa, because AF Corsa are taking the maximum handicap into this race of 30 seconds. So when we stop at 36 minutes for the pit stop, they will have to be in pit lane for 100 seconds. So when they stop to do the driver change, 100 seconds will go by, and then they will be released. Significantly less for the likes of Eastwood and Ulick, who didn't have the best of races by their standards yesterday. They still picked up good points. Nevertheless, they finished down in 5th place. So they had a decent run, but not the kind of race that they would have expected. It's a track they love around here, TF Sport. They've been successful around here. The car's been successful around here. But a car we saw on the podium for the 2nd time this year was the Bentley, and that was Crestani and Mettler. Now, we saw the number 7 there. That is Brendan Irib and Ollie Milroy. They have actually moved up the standings. They've moved up to 3rd in the Pro-Am standings with that result. So a good result for those two. They now are on 41 points, just 2 points ahead of Nick Moss. Further 3 points back is his teammate Joe Osborne. That was their best result of the season, that they took that 2nd place. They've had 3 3rd place finishes before that, Irib and Milroy. That 2nd place, their best results of the season. They're going to be coming into this challenging for the win, no doubt. So Abriel and Eastwood row 1, Chavez on row 2. That's where the championship fight is, to have them all together at the front. It's going to be a very good race. And another good race is going to be the Pro-Am battle, because we've got a lot of the pros starting the race. So let me start with Nick Foster. He was involved in that incident yesterday, which I'm sure he'll want to forget about quickly and move on. He leads the Pro-Am class, so not a bad way to come back from that. Mettler is then 5th, of course, for Team Lazarus, but the next Pro-Am car starts directly behind Nick Foster. Hugely experienced GT racer is Nick Foster, as is Fran Wareda. He starts right behind him on the grid, so the top 2 Pro-Am cars right together with each other there. Then it's Joe Osborne. We know how well he raced at Monza. Likewise, when he handed over to his teammate Nick Moss, it was Joe Osborne who started that race before handing over to Nick Moss, and Nick Moss brought it home in the podium. And speaking of, there is that car. Joe Osborne is going to start this one. And Christian Klein will be alongside him. He is the pro driver in that team as well. Then we have Ahmed Al-Harthi, and we know how experienced Ahmed Al-Harthi is, given you know, he's a bit rusty coming into this year because he hasn't raced this year. He hasn't raced in over a year, but he raced very well yesterday. Tom Canning gave that car to him in a very good position, and then Ahmed was able to bring it home and eventually get into third place. So Oman Racing with TF Sport getting an overall podium, and they won the Pro-Am class, so we'll watch for them. Then Brendan Irib will start in 10th place. They got their best result yesterday, as we said, so we'll definitely be keeping an eye on those guys in the 7. They'll be looking to stay out of trouble. And then we've got our AM driver, Florian Scholz and Jens Lieberhauser, who can pretty much put one hand on the title if they are able to bring it home safely. Angelo Negro, I spoke to AF Corsa yesterday. Angelo really did struggle when he went out there, so this is going to be a real test for him starting from 12th place. No doubt he'll probably be in at 24 minutes to hand over to Stefan Ortelli, who actually took that car into the lead of the race. But for him, bit of damage limitation. He hasn't raced here very much at all. It's his first time, so Angelo Negro, let's see what he can go and do. Then we have our GT Cup Open Europe class. Aldo Vistante will now start on pole position because the Nico Verdon car has been put to the back of the grid, and that is that car. So Nico Verdon starts from the back. One to watch in the start. It's going to be a tasty battle between the likes of Vistante, Diaz Varela, Verdonk as well. It's going to be awesome. Then we got Antonio Combra, who's had 4 podiums in a row, and Alberto De Martin behind that, and there is Antonio Combra in that silver Mercedes. Lots, as ever, to watch out for in International GT Open. We've got the title battle up the front. We've got all our big Pro-Am drivers out there as well, pretty much starting within the top 10. So the battle within the top 10 is going to be incredibly hard to keep up with, but I'll do my best for you. So let's run you through the grid then. GT3 lap record for Vince Abril. He's going to start on pole position, just 1 point behind Enrique Chavez. All he needs to do is beat him to the flag. However, they're going to have to watch out for this man, Northern Irishman. Charlie Eastwood for TF Sport starts alongside. He will want nothing less than a win here. They need to start closing this gap now to this man here, Enrique Chavez, who will start from 3rd place. He's got his title rival directly ahead of him. He'll have his eyes on the prize, as they say, at the start of this race. Starting in 4th place, it's going to be Nick Foster, then the lead Pro-Am car. They need a good result after yesterday. Valentin Pierberg, 2 wins in a row for him here over the last 2 years. Let's see if they can make it a hat-trick. Yannick Mettler then, he starts in 5th place. Speaking of hat-tricks, they want another podium, do Yannick Mettler. He has shown the good pace of that car throughout this weekend. Let's see what they can do. Here's Fran Rueda then. He's going to start from 6th place, podium finisher this year. This is only his 2nd meeting. Fran qualifying in 6th, and I reckon there was a bit more pace in that car as well, and I'm sure they do too. Joe Osborne, watch out for him in the first few laps. He does get his elbows out when required, and Joe Osborne will be looking to fight through from 7th on the grid. Let's see what he can do in the opening stages. Christian Klein, though, ex-F1 driver, we all know about Christian. He's going to start from 8th place. They've lost the Pro-Am lead, so they need to fight back in terms of points. They are on 51 points to the leaders who have 55, which is Marcelo Hahn. Ahmed Al-Harthi is then going to start from 9th place. Oman Racing with TF Sport win an overall podium yesterday. Let's see what they can do today. Then we have Brendan Irib, their best result of the season with Ollie Milroy. Let's see what the American can do today. Okay, we've talked a lot about yesterday. Why don't we show you what happened? The Bentley led us as we got the race underway. Fabrizio Crestani got a good start, good launch off the line, and he led. Now, Tom Canning, who started on the outside of the front row, said to me, didn't realise just how much heat has to go into these tyres. And so cold tyres for him at the start meant he dropped down the field as he was getting himself up to speed in his first ever GT3 race. Aldo Vistante, meanwhile, was chasing down the leader in the GT Cup Open Europe class. This was a moment we had a little bit of side-by-side by Rouge, as you do, and then this was the battle for what was the lead. Eventually we had the Bentley here versus the Ferrari. It's a move from Brett going down towards turn number 1. More side-by-side action. This was the moment Aldo Vistante took the lead away from Daniel Diaz Varela. Joe Osborne helping him do the job. But out front, it would be Vince Abril and Louis Pret who would drive it to the line out of the final corner. And it was a win for AF Corsa here for the first time since 2017. Well, here we go. Cars are off. Let's get ready to go racing in GT Open. Grid one more time for you then. Vincent Abril is going to start from pole position. Charlie Eastwood alongside 2 of the title contenders on the front row. The 3rd of them leads the way, Enrique Chavez. He starts from the inside of row 2. Nick Foster to his outside. Starting then on row number 3, it's going to be Yannick Mettler and Fran Rueda. Brilliant to see Fran back in the series. Let's see what he can do here at Spa. Joe Osborne starts on row number 4. Alongside him is Christian Klein. Christian Klein has got an overall win in this championship in the very first race. Ahmed Al-Harthi then, he's going to be on row number 5, took the Pro-Am win and an overall podium yesterday. Brendan Irib getting their best result. They start 10th. Florian Schultz is our AM leader. He's going to start from 11th place. Angelo Negro will be trying to get himself up to speed, starting from the outside of row 6. Aldo Vistante looking for 4 in a row. He's going to be starting on pole position in GT Cup Open Europe with Daniel Diaz Varela alongside. Then behind that we have Antonio Combra. Alberto De Martin is going to be on row number 8. And then starting at the back of the field was quickest in qualifying, Nico Vidon. So watch out for him, particularly in the early stages. Our cars are now off. We talked a bit about GT Cup Open Europe. It was 4 in a row for Aldo Vistante yesterday. Can he do 5 wins in a row? Let's find out. He's got 5 so far this season. He had a non-finish at Paul Ricard, but other than that, his worst on-track finish is 3rd. Been very impressive, but it's on board with Christian Klein. I'm sure we're going to see a lot of this car because he starts from 8th. He can certainly move forward from there, King Christian. Very quick driver indeed, as we all know. Let's see what the JP car can do in the early stages. They need to get that lead in the championship back. Fran Barreda is the car that we have our eye on, so Christian Klein directly behind his championship rival. Fran Barreda partners who is his championship rival, Marcelo Hahn, because he's done every race. He scored all the points. He's on 55 points. And then Christian Klein and Patrick Kaprinski on 51. So we've got a big title fight going on rows 3 and 4, and then rows 1 and 2 as well. So I'll do my best to keep you all up to date. Of course, Aldo Vistante leads. He's on 85 points in GT Cup Open Europe to the 74 of Daniel Diaz Varela. But we've got Nico Verdonk here. And last time Nico Verdonk was with us, he was on the podium. So this is going to be a very exciting race indeed. There is Oman Racing with TF Sport. They reckon they got a pace again to go for Pro-Am win and potential overall podium, speaking to them. So let's see what they can go and do from row number 5. Here at Spa, been a brilliant weekend so far, and no doubt this race will deliver. 60 minutes coming up for you. We've got the handicaps to come into play as well. We'll talk about those throughout the race. But for now, we've got to get the race started, and we've got some heavy hitters within those top 10. We've got our top 2 in the championship, 1st and 3rd. The one in chase sitting in 2nd place, and then all the big guns in Pro-Am out there. Fran Barreda, who is in chase in the championship in the number 16 car, starts just ahead of Christian Klein. Christian Klein just 4 points back from that number 16 car. The cars are coming up towards Blanchimont now. The pace will be controlled by Vincent Abriel and Charlie Eastwood, winning for AF Corsa for the first time since 2017. They haven't won a title of any kind in this championship since 2015, and AF Corsa have a very good chance to go in to the last round as championship leaders. But no doubt Enrique Chavez will want to stop that. He starts from row number 2. Nervous faces down there as we get ready to go racing. Eastwood on the outside will be taking an aggressive approach into this, I'm sure. He will want nothing less than a win as they make their way up towards the final chicane. Maximum handicap for April though, so he's got a task on his hands in this first stint. 10 seconds going to TF Sport. Right, here we go, round the final chicane. When we look down the straight, to the left of our picture will be Vincent Abriel in the AF Corsa, and to the right will be Charlie Eastwood in the red TF Sport Aston Martin. Here we go, up to the line, and lights go green. We're off away and racing in round number 6. Immediately going into 2nd place is Enrique Chavez. Charlie Eastwood with a bit of a task on his hands now to defend as he goes round the outside. They're side by side for 4th. Nick Foster and Yannick Mettler running side by side. Here's Christian Klein. He's had to take to the runoff. Fran Barreda just ahead of him as they go up towards Eau Rouge. Joe Osborne in the green and black. Green and black McLaren there. Can't get my words out. He's going to go through to 5th place. Oh no, we've got a car off. I think that's Angelo Negro who has gone off at Eau Rouge. There was damage to that car. He was trying to rejoin, but we'll stay with the race for the time being. And it's Abriel who leads the way from 2nd place. Chavez, Charlie Eastwood side by side with Yannick Mettler. Yannick Mettler in that Bentley trying to go around the outside of Lecombe, but Charlie Eastwood having none of it. He will stay in 3rd place. 5th place is Joe Osborne. 6th is Nick Foster. Then it's Fran Barreda. Then it's Christian Klein behind that. We have a yellow flag at turn 4. That is where we saw one of the Ferraris going off, and it was indeed Angelo Negro. What a shame for them. They led the race at one stage yesterday, and it doesn't look like they are going to... Well, I don't know if the car's still going, but there was big damage to that car from what I saw as we now go through turn 11. Up ahead of us, I can see Joe Osborne challenging challenging Yannick Mettler here as they come through now. Pouon. Joe Osborne trying to get past as they make their way around Pouon. He's got Nick Foster behind him as Joe Osborne in that green and black McLaren. Down towards the right-hander, Fran Rerader and Chase. Christian Klein behind that. Brendan Ivory trying to defend from Ahmed Al-Harthi in the background. Leaders, though, escaping here. Vincent Abril needs to get a gap, and he's immediately doing that over Enrique Chavez. Charlie Eastwood slots into third. This is where the battle is. Let's have a look at what happened then, and already there was damage there. And slowing down was Angelo Negro, and that was Florian Schultz who made a bit of contact as he was trying to take the line through Eau Rouge. The car has gone into the barriers, but only softly. There's a chance it could get going again. It's a green flag, so Angelo Negro has got going again, so that's good news. But Angelo Negro was slowing there. I don't know if he was carrying a problem at the time. I wouldn't be surprised if we see that car into pit lane as we come through the chicane for the first time. Joe Osborne in the green and black McLaren looks like he's potentially lining up and moving towards turn 1 here on Yannick Mettler. Down the start finish straight, there's Christian Klein in the gold and black Mercedes up towards the first corner, and a gap being built here by Vincent Abril. Chavez in second, Eastwood third, Mettler, Osborne, Foster, Rueda, Klein, Irim and Al-Harthi. So our 2 championship leaders in Pro-Am right together in 7th and 8th. We're on board with that second in Pro-Am. 8th place Christian Klein. That is the championship leader in Pro-Am just ahead of us. Only 4 points separating them. And Christian Klein's job is now going to be getting past them as they go up Eau Rouge. Start is under investigation. If we hear any more on that, we'll bring it to you. But for now, I'm going to bring in my co-commentator, Elliot Woods. Elliot, been a pretty feisty start to the race. We've had Angelo Negro off, but other than that, there has been some changes. But I'd say other than that, it's been a clean start.
Yeah, and I think, as you can see from these pictures now, Charlie Eastwood made an awful start in the Aston Martin, and Vincent Abril made a great start from the pole-sitting Ferrari. So there's already, what, maybe 20 car lengths between those 2 cars, and those were on the front row of the grid, well, 2 laps ago. So already I think the lead battle there has been broken up. Enrique Chavez in the McLaren currently 2nd place. Further up the order at this point in a race than I think this car has been in quite a while, because it's usually starting a little further back where it gets like a pole, but then it's, there's penalties and stuff, and it's charging through in the 2nd stint. And then Yannick Mettler, I think, because he didn't get that pass done on Charlie Eastwood at Lecombe, that's going to cost him, because that car clearly has the pace to be ahead of that Aston Martin.
Here's our battle for the lead in GT Cup Open Europe, and Nico Verdonk, well, I did say to watch out for him. He's already up to 2nd place, and he is chasing now after Aldo Vestante, flashing the lights, just saying, I am here and I am coming for you. And Nico Verdonk will want that race lead as quickly as possible as they now come in towards the right-hander at turn 13. Charlie Eastwood beginning to settle down here in 3rd place now. He's got a 1.7 second gap over Enrique Chavez. Vincent Abril, who's going to be in the pit lane for the longest amount of time possible. So Vincent Abril has a task to do here to try and build a gap. All Enrique Chavez really needs to do is just try and stay with him as they make their way up towards turn number 1. Now this will be for the 3rd time of asking. You can see though the battle for the Pro-Am lead in the background. The green and black McLaren is the one leading it, but the silver and black Mercedes, Nick Foster 2nd in class, Fran Rerader 3rd in class, Christian Klein 4th in class. Ahmed Al-Harthi is still battling away for 5th in that class with Brendan Irim as they charge down towards Eau Rouge on lap number 3. Gap between your 2 leaders is about 1 second, and through they go. There's 3rd, but then this is the battle for 4th place that is beginning to form as we go up Eau Rouge and now down the Kemmel Straight once more. 54 minutes left in this race, 54 minutes and 45 seconds until the pit stops. We have just over 18.5 minutes, so still plenty of time before those first pit stops. And then after that, we will see where the race is at. There's usually some big changes with the handicaps during that pit stop phase. Enrique Chavez is fastest on track in the first couple of laps, chasing down Vincent Abril, and the gap certainly is coming down. So very soon, Elliot, I think we could have a battle for the lead on our hands. But for now, we focus on this, our battle for 4th between Yannick Mettler and Joe Osborne.
Yeah, and now we cut away to the GT Cup Open Europe battle. It's only lap 3, but he's already getting flashed by his class rival, his leader Aldo Festante. That is Nico Verdonk in the Aston Martin behind. Trying to get past Lecombe. I don't think there's really need any rush to overtake at this point. We have 54 minutes left of this race. But as we saw in yesterday's race with the GT Cup Open battle, it took 52 minutes for Aldo Festante to make the overtake for the lead. As we see one of the boards being
that was an entry, wasn't it?
knocked over, yeah. And this is Angelo Negro in the Ferrari. So his teammate's currently leading the race, but he is in the pits in the very last spot.
Well, Angelo Negro, I think his frustration's clearly shown as he come into the pits there. This is the battle for the lead in GT Cup Open Europe, but we've had a change. Eastwood's dropped to 5th place, so I'm not too sure what's happened there, but it looks like Eastwood may have dropped down the field. I'm not too sure if that was a timing issue, but for a little moment it said that Eastwood was down to 5th. I'm just going to look out the window, and it looks to be as Eastwood's still in 3rd, so just a timing glitch there, showing Eastwood provisionally down in 5th place. As out of the chicane we come. This is your battle for the lead then. There is Eastwood in the red Aston Martin, so confirmation of that, as in the background the black Bentley there still being pursued by Joe Osborne. One thing we did see is people struggling to get past that Bentley, is because down the straight it's just got so much grunt, and out of the corners as well, that it's a hard beast to get past, especially when it's being piloted by the talented Fabrizio Crestani and Yannick Mettler. Joe Osborne will do the best he can though, and he's built a gap over Nick Foster, so the pace that Yannick Mettler clearly is upping his pace here, and Joe Osborne is matching it, but at this stage Nick Foster isn't quite able to do that. And then our two Pro-Am Championship leaders battling away in the background. This is your battle for the overall lead. Vincent Abreu leading Enrique Chavez by only 0.2 of a second now. Yannick Mettler has Joe Osborne for company there in 4th place, but these are your two leaders making their way downhill. They're split by just 1 point in the championship of Vincent Abreu and Enrique Chavez. If the race were to finish like this, that would change, and it would change in the favour of 2 points lead for Abreu over Chavez.
And all they'll be doing is stretching their lead over Charlie Eastwood, who has actually broken away in 3rd place from the Bentley of Yannick Mettler, who is pretty much holding off Joe Osborne at every corner now. The Osborne McLaren did look very quick in qualifying, but we didn't really see the same race pace yesterday. And now it's certainly trying to get into the top 3. Drivers have been told not to flash their lights. That's pretty much aimed at the GT Cup Open Europe battle, where there is still only 4 tenths between the top 2 cars, which is a similar gap to the Vincent Abreu Enrique Chavez fight at the front of the field.
Yeah, flashing of any kind is not allowed, is it? So out of...
We're in the forest.
Out towards Blanchimont they go. This is Angelo Negro climbing out the car. Oh dear.
You can see the frustration through the shrug.
Well, that was on the side of the car that actually had contact, so there was a problem already, and that's race potentially over, or at least for the time being.
Yeah. Perhaps they want to fully examine damage, if there is any, on the underside of the car, and especially the rear structure of that Ferrari, just in case if you keep on driving it, it's just going to make things worse.
Impressive though that the Ferrari set the GT3 lap record this morning.
GT3?
Yeah.
Well, they beat like Spa 24-hour teams. That's impressive.
They're the fastest GT3 car to ever go around here. Fastest GTE car to go around here.
No, GTE is a little quicker, and that does the 6-hour races with WEC. Not sure how quicker per lap the GTEs are, because they don't often race against GT3s.
There's a GT3 and GTE lap record broken this weekend with these cars. Absolutely fantastic stuff. And we've got our two championship leaders out front battling away with each other. Abreu versus Chavez. Now Eastwood, let's see what time he did last time. He did a 2:17.6. So Eastwood is beginning. I don't know if it's now the tyres maybe coming towards him a little bit, and he's got no pressure now, no defending to have to think about doing, but he's starting to go quicker than the top two now. He's got to be careful of track limits, so at turn 9, there was a reminder put out to all drivers to make sure you respect track limits as they now come through the left-hand at turn 11. And there you can see, as we speak about the man himself, Eastwood 2:17.6. That was the fastest lap of the race that he set last time round. This is your battle for the lead, the championship lead in Pro-Am class. The number 16, Fran Moreda, is in with Marcelo Hahn this weekend, but Marcelo Hahn is 4 points ahead of Christian Klein and Patrick Kaprinski as they now come down through Pouhon. great to have these onboard views of Christian Klein. When does he make his move? Does he make his move? Does he wait for the pit stops? I wonder. He and Fran Moreda, this is going to be a great fight. That's going to go on until the pit stop phase. Through the left-hander, and there's been a change. You can see out of Estante is past Nico Verdonk. Nico Verdonk looking to, well, in fact, sorry, he's still ahead of Nico Verdonk, shall I say. Still defending Nico Verdonk. Yet to take that place from Aldo Vestante. And he's just putting as much pressure on as possible now, isn't he? Faking moves almost, just moving around in the braking zone, just trying to distract Aldo Vestante. Aldo Vestante not biting yet. Roles reversed for him because he was the one that was chasing Manuel Cerqueda and Daniel Diaz Varela yesterday. Now he's the one in their position today having to do the defending. They sit 4 seconds back currently. As Charlie Eastwood, he's caught now Enrique Chavez. I wonder if there was an attempted move that didn't quite work for Chavez, either that or a mistake. But now Charlie Eastwood, who's gone fastest once again, is all over the back of the championship leader. This a car they need to take points out of, and Charlie Eastwood now in a position to potentially challenge Enrique Chavez for that second place as they come uphill. This could be very good news for Abril. Abril is carrying the maximum handicap when we go into the pit stop, so he needs a big gap, and he could do with Eastwood and Chavez battling away with each other here.
Yeah, because there's only 1 point between the top 2 cars in the standings. If Eastwood does get between them, that's going to spice up the title fight a lot more as well. Eastwood wasn't actually in the fast of the Aston Martins yesterday, was it? It was the Tom Canning, Ahmed Al Harfi, Oman Racing by TF Sport example, which is currently down in 10th place, so at the very back of the Pro-Am pack. But it was roughly 22 seconds back this time in yesterday's race, so we do know it can, you know, close that gap, as it looks like there's been a change of position. Nico Verdonk has actually got past Aldo Vestante. We're going to see a replay of that now, coming up to Blanchimont.
No.
A very ballsy overtake if they do that. Vestante runs a little bit wide, so yeah, it takes the inside line.
I think he said, you know what, you can have that, mate. I'm not doing round the outside there, no chance.
Well, he did have a wheel come off in qualifying, so he probably didn't want to risk anything too much.
That's a very good point, actually. Brendan Irib has gone past Ahmed El Harthi. That's a position change, I believe, there. So, in fact, Al Harthi's been challenging him for a while, hasn't he? They're dropping back, those two. Now they're sort of battling away with each other. The gap to Christian Klein is over 11 seconds.
Klein will be wanting to overtake Fran Moreda soon. He's only 0.6 seconds behind. It was actually slower in the first sector of the lap. Their second sector splits are about to appear, except Klean's hasn't appeared. That's probably a faulty timing error, but hopefully the cameras will pick up their battle, because it's one of the closest on track right now, as well as Eastwood, who is in 3rd place, hunting down Enrique Chavez, who was all over Abril a few laps ago, dropped 2 seconds in a moment we didn't get to see on screen. So hopefully there'll be a replay of that later as well.
Just like that, we go on board with Christian Klein. There you can see Fran Moreda ahead of us. These two are just really evenly matched for pace, I think. And, you know, Christian Klein's waiting for an opportunity. An opportunity has not come up yet. Sometimes you've got to be really patient in GT racing. If you're evenly matched like this, you've just got to wait for that opportunity. Joe Osborne is being forced to do the same. Likewise, Nick Foster. They haven't been able to make a proper challenge on Yannick Mettler yet, but when the opportunity comes up, no doubt they will stay close enough to make that move as they go uphill now through Eau Rouge.
Yeah, Klean should be a bit of a Spa expert, because he took Jaguar's best F1 result in 2004 here.
He won.
Yeah, he won the Le Mans series. Yeah, with Peugeot.
Yeah,
lovely car that was. And he also, I think he finished 9th here for Red Bull in 2005 as well. So it's probably his best track of all the European circuits.
He's got some good memories here, and he's got a lot of good memories just in general. Here we go. This is Irib versus Al Harthi. This is the battle for 9th place. Irib led the race when he got into that car yesterday, and what a situation to be thrown into for the American. He's now battling away with Ahmed Al Harthi. This for 9th place in the early stages of the race. So far, the two very evenly matched. There hasn't been And well, I think we pick it up at a good time because here comes Al Harthy trying to get down the inside at Pouon, and not going to quite happen. So clearly this is these two battling away so much that the gap is just extending all the time. It's up to 13 seconds now to the guys ahead, and running out wide there is Irib. Al Harthy still unable to get through. Hasn't yet had his opportunity, but will no doubt keep the pressure on. We've got a warning for Irib as well for track limits in 2 corners, so he's got to be careful here, Brendan. Ahmad will be searching for an opportunity to get through, but for now, Ahmad looks safe as he makes his way up towards Blanchimont. Just under 8 minutes to go before the pit stops. Here we go, the battle for second place continuing to go. The battle for fourth place likewise as we go into turn number 1. In the background, you can see Fran Reda and Christian Klein still right together on circuit. Now we've got Antonio Combra into the pits. I think that might be something that's just happened because I hadn't noticed him in the pits before. So Antonio Combra is in. It's 7.5 minutes earlier than the driver changes, so there is a problem with that car. I'm not too sure what the problem is just yet, but I hope we see that car back out onto the track because they've had quite a few podiums in a row now. They've had 3 in a row coming into this race, so it'd be a real shame for them to see that podium streak come to an end as we watch Joe Osborne now making his way through Lecombe.
And the car behind that is Nick Foster, who's just got a track limits warning for going through Lecombe. And
that's where it is.
Taking too much curb at that corner as well. Given he's a pro driver, I wouldn't be expecting those kinds of warnings this early in a race.
Well, I mean, it's hard, isn't it? They're pushing as hard as they can. They have a certain amount of time in the car, 36 minutes maximum, so they want to do the best they can. You know, and they might used, if their endurance race would be used to having a lot longer than that.
Odd thing is, in endurance racing, track limits penalties are actually even stricter. I think you only get 1 strike and then it's a penalty. Yeah. Which is a great shame if you're racing in the middle of the night and you can't even see the track limit.
No, that isn't good. I think it's just one of those things. Sometimes it's just get the minimum as possible. As we pick up our race leader, Vincent Abril. His gap now just over 2 seconds. We're approaching traffic here. This looks like Alberto De Martin. They are going past as the number 59 of Enrique Chavez. Last time around did a 2:17.8. The gap was extended further between he and Vincent Abril. When Louis Preck gets in the car, though, he could have a gap to chase down with the handicap that's going to be applied. But, you know, we look to the gap to the likes of 4th place, and if he can build a substantial gap there, he might be able to get back out in 3rd, and who knows, anything can happen in GT racing. We could have safety cars, anything can happen. As we saw, if anyone is a single-seater fan and they watch Euro Formula Open, the race is never over until it's over, I think, even at the final corner, let's just say that. Here's our 2 Pro-Am Championship leaders together on circuit. Fran Reda ahead of us, Christian Klein we are on board with. Let's have a listen through Eau Rouge, shall we? That sounded foot to the floor to me. Brilliant stuff for Christian Klein as they make their way now down the Kemmel Straight. Here we go, we're side by side. Joe Osborne to the right of picture, trying to get past Yannick Mettler, and he's going to do it on the brakes, and that's the Optimum Motorsport car up into 4th place. So it's been a long time coming. He's been in behind Yannick Mettler for a number of laps now since the race start. Joe Osborne finally found his opportunity, and he has now got that car up. And Nick Foster, well, now the clock is ticking for him. If there's a chance that Joe Osborne may escape, he'll want to get by as quickly as possible to stay with the Pro-Am leader as they now come through turn 11 and make their way down towards Pouon. Just over 14 minutes on the clock. We head down towards Pouon. In the background, you can see our 2 Pro-Am Championship leaders. This is Mettler and Foster. Down towards the right-hander then, Nick Foster in the number 20. Trying to put the pressure on Yannick Mettler. We're a third of the way into this race. Let's do a quick recap of what we have. So we have Vincent Abril leading, GT3 lap record holder now after that time he did this morning. He leads by 1.1 seconds over Enrique Chavez. Enrique Chavez has about the same kind of gap to Charlie Eastwood in third place. 2 seconds between the top three, 2 seconds between the three championship leaders. Yannick Mettler is just lost fourth place, so he's now fifth with Joe Osborne, our Pro-Am leader, in fourth. Then we have Nick Foster in sixth. Fran Moreda is seventh. Christian Klein is eighth. Brendan Irib still has Ahmed Al-Hathi at bay, although they are dropping back further from Christian Klein. The gap is now at 19 seconds. Then it's Florian Schultz, the AM driver. Nico Verdonk leads the GT Cup Open Europe class, then by 1.3 seconds before we have the likes of Fastante, Daniel Diaz Varela, De Martin. Combra is back out of the pit, so problems resolved there. Angelo Negro out of the race after an incident on the opening lap. Seemed there was a fault with the car as he was approaching Eau Rouge. He had to take to the grass after a little bit of side-by-side contact with Florian Schultz and had a spin as a result of that contact, and has came into the pit since and retired the car. So an unfortunate weekend, a weekend of what could have been for that team, given they were leading the race yesterday. Leading the race yesterday also was this guy on stage. Here is Nick Foster. We didn't see much of these guys until the last corner, and we saw plenty of them. Sixth place for them. His teammates, Valentin Pierreberg, in search of a hat-trick of wins here at Spa. Let's see if he can do that today. Here is third place in class. There's a chance that Chavez and Eastwood are just basically following each other around. Maybe they're just, you know, let's just stay as close as we can to Abril. When his handicap's applied, we should be able to get past in the pits. So it could be a patient approach from Eastwood. Knowing Charlie Eastwood, though, I think he'll want to get past, and he's continuing to apply pressure. He's got the lights on as well, which is usually a sign of sign that you want to go forward. In terms of the standings, as they make their way now up towards Blanchimont, just over 20 minutes in, and here is the battle between our two Pro-Am championship leaders, Elliot.
Yeah, but great battle so far on the 10th lap. Now they're in. Actually, Pro-Am Championship leaders, 4th and 6th. Oh yeah, sorry, Championship leaders rather than race leaders. Yeah. Need to keep my ears open. They're doing a good job so far. It's taken, well, it has taken all 9 laps of clearing to line Ranerader up, and he still hasn't made a pass, which is what we've kind of seen at the front as well with the Nicholas Foster Mercedes. Was unable to actually get past the Joe Osborne McLaren before Osborne passed Mettler in the Bentley. And because we're staying on board, we can actually see exactly where the McLaren has the advantage against this Mercedes. Coming out the corner down the pit straight, and you can see the McLaren's already pulling away. I'd expect going into turn 1, that gap's going to change as we return to the front. Charlie Eastwood all over the rear of Enrique Chavez going up Eau Rouge. There's a 1.6 second gap to Vincent Abreu in front, who was actually faster last time round, but has had his gap diminished over the last few laps. But there's only 20 seconds until the driver change window opens. Do you think all these three will pit as early as possible?
Well, I think Charlie Eastwood is he's gonna stay out as long as possible, and Chavez, I think, will do the same. Vincent Abreu and Louis Pretz very evenly matched for pace, so I don't really think it matters. I think there's a chance. Well, it depends. The team will basically work out where they're going to come back out, and then I think once they see a gap, that's when they'll go for it. But I'm no team manager, so that's just an uneducated guess, really, as the pit lane window now opens. There's Enrique Chavez leading the championship by 1 point. Charlie Eastwood in behind there, 17 points back. Abreu is the car that is just 1 point back. But this is the moment now for the next 14 minutes. We're going to see the pit lane open. For the next 12 minutes, sorry, we're going to see the pit lane open, and we're going to see the changes start to happen, and things will start to change then in the standings. We wait after 12 minutes to see how it all changed. Usually we see a group of cars come in straight away, and then the next group come in right at the end. Now we have a drive-through
for our AM class leader, Florian Scholes. Now, this will not cost him victory because he is the only AM driver in the race, as we've already got one of the GT Cup Open Europe, and they've hit off over the bollard as well. Drivers, you know, should really up their game with these bollards. They cost quite a lot to make and, you know, stand up as well. They don't stand up on their own. Let's put it that way.
Well, they're leading, so I think they're in a rush, but, you know, they have to stay in the pits for a certain amount of time anyway. That is Daniel Diaz Varela, who has gone in. He's going to hand over to Manuel Cerqueda. Rodri Guillon will take over in the Nico Verdonk car. So 2 people in so far, both in GT Cup Open Europe, as Yannick Mettler now comes in to hand over to Fabrizio Crestani. So they were under a lot of pressure, so it's no surprise that they come in, but that releases Nick Foster, and it releases the likes of Fran Moreda as well, though Fran Moreda wasn't really in that battle, but it releases Nick Foster, who now has a 3-second gap to chase on Joe Osborne.
And while Fran Moreda is currently actually on the Pro-Am podium in the overall GTOpen points battle, like the overall championship classification, he's actually fighting with AM-class leader Florian Scholz. I think they're 1 point apart, so Scholz's penalty might actually impact him in that way, but as far as the AM-class goes, he's already got victory wrapped up as long as he finishes this race.
Patrick Kaprinsky is going to take over the number 88. That car has come in. Ollie Milroy will jump into number 7, and there he is. Brendan Iron about to jump out. Ollie will jump in the car. That handicap just 5 seconds, so 75 for them in terms of the pit stop. But this is where we see everything start to change.
And our leading car, Vincent Abril, has got track limits violation warnings at not only 1 corner, but 3. Turn 1, which is the source, turn 9, which is the exit of the Lacombe chicane, and turn 19, which is
the chicane, the final chicane. Yeah, so they run wide out of that last chicane. Some of them you would have seen run wide out of the source. They go over the curb, 1 wheel over.
Who's that cleans behind? Is that the Bentley?
That's Patrick Kaprinsky, who's behind now Fabrizio Crestani.
Yeah, so they've actually closed in during that pit stop phase.
It's all down to those handicaps, isn't it? As we now come through Blanchimont, Vincent Abril has a... They might stay out. They've got clear road now, so they might decide to stay out here. Let's have a look. I'm often wrong. Vincent Abril comes up towards the final corner. They've got less time. They have 14 minutes yesterday. Shorter race today by 10 minutes, so they get 12 today. As we go up to the start-finish line, Chavez and Eastwood remain out. They'll both stay out, I think, until the very end. They're going to have about 3 more laps before they have to come in. Because you have to be in pit lane before the clock hits 0. You can't... You have to be in before then. There's no... You can't be going on to your last lap, for example. So they have to time it right. If the lap is 2 minutes and 18 seconds, then they've got to time that so they are coming in before the clock runs out. And we've seen 1 or 2 occasions people get their maths a little bit wrong or get their judgment a little bit wrong and not make it in time. Abril leads though, 1.7 seconds. The gap is coming down between the 2 leaders. I wonder if that will force a pit stop from Abril. Chavez 2nd, Eastwood in 3rd, Osborne 4th place, Nick Foster 5th, Fran Moreda 6th. Those cars yet to come in to the pits. Crestani has been in. He is in 7th place. Kaprinsky has also been in. Milroy now with 25 seconds to try and chase to Patrick Kaprinsky if they are going to move further up the Pro-Am order.
And it's going to take a few laps to actually see the cars that have pitted already, what their pace is like on these new tyres compared to the drivers that are going to stay out for as long as they can in this remaining 6 minutes, which probably only equates to 3 laps at a push, depending where they are already on this current lap. As Jens Liebhausen and Tom Canning move into the top 10.
Well, Jens has got a drive-through, which is going to have to be done after the pit stop window. Tom Canning has just taken over from Ahmed Al-Harthi and is now behind Jens Liebhausen. He's got 1.4 seconds over Jens Liebhausen. Rafael Villanueva and Alberto Martin in. They're going to have to be in for 90 seconds. So hence no immediate rush to do the driver change. Here we come up to the final corner, 2nd and 3rd in the picture for you now. Enrique Chavez ahead of Charlie Eastwood. I think we're going to have 2 more laps for them. Abril looks to be staying out to the end as well. Eastwood has been close to Chavez. I think the top 3 are just all so evenly matched for pace here. Eastwood last time around was the quickest of the top 3. He did a 2:18 flat, 2:18.2 for Abril, and a 2:18.1 for Chavez. Now, Aldo Vistante doesn't have a driver to give over to. He's been doing this season on his own. Stopwatch starts running. They will do any changes they need to the car, and then he will be released once the time has run out.
Now the lead battle is approaching another lapped car. That's one of the Mercedes. Isn't the one that's just pitted, so it's one of the other GT Cup Open Europe cars. At the rate they're closing him in, I think they'll probably be on the rear of him by the end of this lap. Now, blue flags would obviously come into play because it's lap traffic, but at the same time, you could pit and avoid that lap traffic, and I think if I was Vincent Abreu, I'd do that and then leave the 2 cars behind to try and negotiate the lapped cars.
It's Antonio Combra. Let's remember he's been in with problems to the car. Now he's been back out again. Hence he is a couple of laps down. Antonio, they've been very sensible to be fair. Antonio Combra is 15 seconds back from Manuel Cerqueda, who has been into the pits, and there you can see Abreu has gone past. They're about 15 seconds a lap quicker, aren't they? The pro drivers over the GT Cup Open Europe drivers, so they get past them fairly quickly. You can see Antonio Combra. I think Chavez, this could become a problem for him. This might be an opening for Charlie Eastwood here if he struggles to get by, and there we can see, I think it's going to work in Charlie Eastwood's favour. Chavez just having to run a little bit wide there. I think he might have got away with it, so Chavez stays in that second, but it did give some time to Abreu. The gap will open back up slightly now, as we have just under 4 minutes left until the pit stop window closes. Then we will find out exactly where we are in this race. We are still waiting for our top 6 to come in. Foster 2 seconds back from Osborne. That gap has come down as well.
And look who's lapping quicker than anyone else. It's Fabrizio Crestani in the Bentley, 7th place, the lead of the pitters. He is 1 minute 7 seconds behind Vincent Abreu. What is the handicap for Vincent Abreu? It's
100 seconds.
100 seconds. And that is a 67-second margin at the moment.
One to keep an eye on. One to keep an eye on as we go up Eau Rouge once more. Now Kaprinsky and Rueda, that's going to be an interesting one to see exactly where Rueda comes out respective to Kaprinsky. Rueda is done a 2:16.9 last time. Kaprinsky did a 2:19 flat, so going quicker, with the fresher tyres. Should Rueda come in now? Is it a time to come in if Kaprinsky is beginning to lap quicker? Don't forget they were just ahead of the Kaprinsky car when Kaprinsky came, when Kaprinsky was handed that car after Christian Klein came in, as Kaprinsky now actually goes past Crestani, so that's a change that's happened there. Now what's happened to Fabrizio Crestani for that to happen? I don't know if that's a timing glitch, but we are being shown as them swapping places. Here's our top 3 though. We'll pick that up a little bit later, as Crestani is now shown in 7th, so no need to pick that one back up. But there is the car of Manuel Cerqueda. Of course, Vistante has now been into the pit lane as well. Find out where he is in respect to Rodrigue Guillon, and he comes back out onto the circuit. Just under 2 minutes left now, so they're all going to be in on this lap. So all the top 6 about to come into the pits. They will not have time to do one more lap. And on his final run to the chicane, having to deal with a little bit of traffic here, is Vincent Abreu. This is not a good time to be catching traffic. They're all going to be flying into the pits now. So here we go, all of them into the pits. There you can see Abreu, Chavez, Eastwood all come in to the pit lane. Osborne, Foster, Rueda will follow, as we have now only 1 minute and 20 seconds left until the pit stop window closes at the top left of your screen. When that clock hits 24 minutes, that is when we will be finished for the driver change period.
I think Crestani will come out in the lead here. He's still on track. He was almost a second quicker than well, it's going to be Louis Pret now in this car. It was Vincent Abreu down in 7th place. We're hopefully going to see a second sector time come up as we see the Charlie Eastwood car. He's handing over to Sally Yoluk, and Enrique Chavez hands over to Miguel Ramos, who has, of course, won more races. Was that a tire he just threw?
Yeah,
a seat.
Yoluk and Eastwood have the exact same handicap as Ramos and Chavez, so they're going to be dead level when they come out of the pits. obviously we know Abel's going to drop back by about 30 seconds when Brett comes out. It's the one to keep an eye on, as you said, is potentially Crestani, but they would have been carrying a handicap given they finished second yesterday. Here's the number 15 of Rafael Villanueva coming through Blanchimont. There is Crestani, so here we go. We've picked him up. Let's see where they come out. Oh, we can't quite see the guys that are in the pits from where we are, but we can hear them. By the way, when that Bentley goes out of the pits, the media centre shakes.
Yeah,
like shakes. Your drink starts shaking on the table starts shaking when that Bentley powers out of its pit box. It's absolutely incredible. I genuinely
thought...
There's
a Ferrari on the left of the screen. Here's the Bentley coming to turn one, so he has overtaken
he has gone past
Louis Pret. Where is the Mikel Ramos car?
I think they're going up a Rouge now, aren't they? Let's have a look. Ah, yeah, look, they're well down, so they're up now past a Rouge. So this is now the battle for the lead. It's going to be between Miguel Ramos and Sally Ulick. Two of the championship leaders. Pret's got a real task on his hands to get anywhere near these guys. He's going to need a safety car. For him, for Louis Pret, he's just going to be hoping, as long as he can get to third, because he's going to drop right down the field. With that, he's got a maximum handicap, so they're going to have a real task here. Here's Louis Pret.
The Nick Moss car has actually come out ahead of Valentin Pierberg as well. So Crestani on our timing screen still turns up at 7th. I think he's actually up to 4th, but the two cars behind.
He's up to 5th.
At least up to 5th, yeah.
It's Crestani. So Miguel Ramos leads from Sally Ulick. Nick Moss leads the way in Pro-Am. That number 72 car, not for the first time, leading in class. They've taken 2 class wins this season over Joe Osborne and Nick Moss, one of them being at Paul Ricard Race 1 and the other in Monza Race 1, where they finished on the overall podium as well. They also finished on the overall podium at that Paul Ricard race. So brilliant stuff for them. Let's see what they can do. Nick Moss is going to be in 3rd place, but is he going to be there by the time we get to the end of lap? I think Valentin Pierberg's starting to put pressure on him. Let's find out by the time we cross the line. So here, let's stay with our leaders, Miguel Ramos and Sally Ulick, who's run a little bit wide into the chicane. That's going to cost him the toe potentially now as they come out of the chicane and down the start-finish straight. So there's Miguel Ramos and Sally Ulick. They go past our commentary box. We'll keep an eye out, on a look at the window to see who else comes through next and what order they come through in. Up to the start-finish line we go then, as I can see, there goes the number 72 past our window. That is, of course, the number 72, Nick Moss. Crestani wasn't far behind, and then Valentin Pierberg in 5th place. Louis Pret comes through next along. So Louis Pret, I guess the aim is going to try and catch that 3rd place battle. If he can get a podium from there, that would be a good achievement. But what about the battle for the lead? Of course, anything can happen. We can have a safety car, and then Louis Pret, albeit 4 positions back, closes right in on this battle for the lead. Sally Ulick just looking a little bit uncomfortable out there in these early stages, as Fabrizio Crestani has gone through and has got that Bentley back on a podium spot. So Crestani looks like he could potentially make it 3 podiums here. This was the move on Valentin Pierberg going up towards Blanchimont. What a move that is. And it really did distract Pierberg, who ran incredibly wide there, using all the runoff as he went round Blanchimont. Just got his outside tyres off the circuit, and that is why there's a big gap now between himself and Nick Moss. That was when Crestani went through. Wasn't too difficult for him in the end, but Nick Moss still leads in Pro-Am. Here are our 2 leaders though, Miguel Ramos, and Sally Ulick. Sally Ulick has looked a little bit uncomfortable out there in the first couple of laps, but it seems he's beginning to start settling down now. We've got to keep an eye as well on the likes of Ollie Milroy and Tom Canning as well. We have Ollie Milroy, who, as a team, they got their best result. Of course, Tom Canning, his first ever weekend racing a GT3 car, and his first ever weekend in this championship. So we'll keep an eye on those guys, see how they get on. Out of Estante leads by 15 seconds in a GT Cup Open Europe. But the battle for the lead couldn't be any closer, could it? I said it was going to be a close one. And Ramos and Ulick tied together as they go in towards La Source. Sally Ulick, who could make more history at the end of this year when he goes to Bahrain, as we see out of Estante, has a 15-second gap in GT Cup Open Europe, so he's set for 5 wins in a row and 6 for the season here. All he needs to do is bring it home to the flag. Unless there's a safety car or something like that out of Estante, then the pressure would close up. But nothing like that is needed to close our 2 leaders together, because they are neck and neck as they come through the right-hander at Lake Human, now down towards Bruxelles. Crestani is 14 seconds back. Let's do a full run through then. So we have Miguel Ramos and Sally Ulick tied together out front. Sally Ulick 17 points back from Miguel Ramos in the championship, and if he can beat him in a head-to-head, the gap will come down to 14. Fabrizio Crestani is then in third, looking to make it 3 podiums of the season and 2 this weekend for Team Lazarus, as I can see the Jens Liebhauser car coming through pit lane to serve a drive-through. Nick Moss then leads Pro-Am, but only by 3 seconds over Valentin Pierreberg, who of course that gap opened up when he ran wide going through Blanchimont after being overtaken by Crestani. Louis Pret is then 6 seconds back from that, but lapping 3 seconds a lap faster than Pierreberg and 4 seconds a lap faster than Nick Moss. Then we have our 2 championship leaders in Pro-Am on screen. We have Marcelo Hahn, who leads in that class by 4 points ahead of Patrick Kaprinski. They are right together on circuit. Behind that is Ollie Milroy in chase of Kaprinski. He is lapping 3 seconds a lap faster than him, and he is 11 seconds back. Tom Canning has just done a personal best, and he is one of the quickest drivers out there on circuit. He's the 2nd quickest driver currently circulating on circuit, behind Fabrizio Crestani. So he is no doubt going to catch that Marcelo Hahn and Kaprinski battle at some stage, and will have his eyes on the likes of Moss and Pierreberg, even if he can keep this pace up. Then behind that, Jens Liebhauser out of Estante leads from Cerceda, Guillaume, Villanueva, Silva and Negro. That's your full situation with 17 minutes left of race number 2 here of round 5 of the International GT Open. Chris McCarthy and Elliot Wood here for you. Hope you're enjoying the action so far. We've got lots to watch out for in the last 17 minutes of the race. This is 2nd in the championship, 1 point behind the car that leads the race. Louis Pret, if the flag were to fly now, Louis Pret in 6th place would score, let's have a look, he would score 5 points. And of course, Miguel Ramos and Enrique Chavez would score 15. So the gap would open up to 11 points going into the final round. So Louis Pret needs to start making positions in these final 16 minutes. And he can see he's got 2 cars he can see ahead of him in Pierreberg and Moss. Now, if he can get up to Nick Moss and past him, that would put him into 4th place, and he would score 8 points. And then if Miguel Ramos takes the win, he would score 15. So the gap would go up to 8 points, which, you know, that's a doable gap going into the final round. Really, as he goes past Pierreberg, Pierreberg just lets him go through. So now he's gone up to 5th place. So that's 6 points on the board for him. But really, Pret could do with Sally Ulick beating Miguel Ramos here for his championship hopes. Because if Miguel Ramos finishes in 2nd and Pret finishes in 4th place, which he's about to get to now, he's going to be with Nick Moss on the next lap, if not this one, then 2nd place would be 12 points for Miguel Ramos, and for Louis Pret in 4th it would be 8. The gap would be just 5 points going into the final round. Now, I think this was Pierreberg just letting him through. Yeah, so picked a good place to do it, actually. Just moves out of the way, either that or he ran wide, but I'm pretty sure that's someone of Pierreberg's experience. That's him going, just go through, and I'll tuck him behind you and see if you can drag me up to the back of Nick Moss ahead. Oh dear, we've had a penalty given to Fabrizio Crestani. 15 seconds time penalty to be added to the race, refueling. Oh dear. Well, I tell you what, this is significant for the championship now because Louis Pret is within 15 seconds of Fabrizio Crestani. So that means Pret now, as he goes past Nick Moss at La Source, is now theoretically in third place. As long as he can stay within 15 seconds of Fabrizio Crestani, he is going to take a podium finish here. So championship, I hate to keep going back to it, but it's because it's significant. But this means he's now going to score 10 points. Here's a look at the move in towards turn one again. Like Nick Moss, they would have told him, he's moved out of the way under braking, so he's just, said go through. There's no point in these guys. I mean, Nick Moss at Monza actually took the fight to these guys, but with this amount of time left on the clock and the pace that Pret is setting, it's actually better for them to let through. You lose less time that way. But Louis Pret now is scoring 10 points. Miguel Ramos in the lead here, the blue and black McLaren is scoring 15, so the gap will be 6 points in the favour of Ramos. But if Ulick can get past Ramos, then it will only be 2 points gap difference, 3 points advantage for Ramos going into the final round. How about that? Be very close. It was 8 points coming into this round, so that would be a big close. That'd be a close of 5 points, which at this stage of the season, that's big. Considering a win gives you 15, 5 points closing the gap would be a good job done for Pret and Abriel. But for that to happen, they need Ulick in that red Aston Martin to get through, and Ulick has been able to stay with Miguel Ramos now. All he needs to, he's beginning to look quicker and quicker here, Ulick, in that red Aston Martin. There's going to be a fight to the flag potentially here, as ahead of us we can see that is the third place car, in GT Cup Open.
And we've just got a steward's notice that the track is officially wet.
Oh dear.
There are drops of rain on the main straight and at turn 15, which is Stavelot. Now we are on the main straight. I'm looking through the commentary box window and I can't see any rain. But, always trust the weathermen in Spa.
Oh, no.
They know what they're doing. It's Charlie Eastwood.
No, that's Sally Ulick being held up there.
Yeah, Sally
by
Ulick.
Gillion, and he can't go past because he's cut the track. Oh dear, this is big news then for Miguel Ramos. So just as we had our eyes out the window there, that is Ulick, who has been delayed there by the third place car in GT Cup Open Europe, and the gap has really extended now. So Miguel Ramos has been helped there. We've got rain starting to potentially fall. Raindrops on the main straight. Who's this? This is our two championship leaders in Pro-Am and a switch in places. So that's significant there. There you can see running wide, that is Marcelo Hahn, and Patrick Kaprinski goes through. Now there's only 4 points between those two in the championship. Currently they are third and fourth on circuit, so that's going to be a 2 points difference between them. That means the gap will close to 2 points between our two Pro-Am leaders going into the final round. There's Crestani, he's carrying a 15-second gap. There has been raindrops on the main straight. Doesn't look anything significant too far, but hey, there's Spa, there's 10 minutes to go. It could be pouring down by the end of this race. You never know as we go down towards turn number 13 here in the Bentley. Now, I actually didn't notice this before, Elliot, but you'll see if you look out onto the main straight, the gaps in the small gaps in the tarmac in the main straight. When I went out to the grid for the Porsches, that is to essentially help clear the water as quickly as possible. I'd never actually noticed that before, but got to see it today. Now, this is how Sally Ulick was held up. Oh, what a bad time to catch a slower car. And that's going to make Sally Ulick very, very frustrated, considering that's what affected their qualifying yesterday. He just needs to do a quick reset now and get himself back onto the back of the Miguel Ramos car, and catching the pair of them is Fabrizio Crestani, but of course he has a penalty.
Yeah, 3 seconds almost on that last lap, so he's got a great job. Obviously Ulick's going to lose even more time because of being blocked there, so yeah, 5 seconds potentially Crestani could have taken him out. No, only 3 seconds this time, so he's got that gap down to 4.9 seconds to Sally Ulick, who's dropped 2.5 seconds down to Miguel Ramos. Louis Pret is considerably behind. He's just about to cross the start-finish line, 21 seconds behind, so he's pretty nailed on for 4th place. I think any of the top 3 positions could still change, and with 9 minutes to go, the rain isn't quite visible, but like you said, the grooves in the track, they tend to fill with water, and then you can see the water once it's there.
Now the warning is basically been taken away. So, I mean, there has been a wet track declared, but I don't see anything substantial just yet. But how about that going into the final 10 minutes? Now, the gap between Ramos and Ulick, which is the one we're going to be keeping our eyes on, is now 2.5 seconds. So there's been a task awarded to Sally Ulick here. You've got a 2.5 second gap. Now try and close it down. Let's see what he can do. That is Antonio, that's Luis Silva, sorry, moving out of his way. Is that the moment that Sally Ulick loses a chance to go for the race win? Miguel Ramos has now got to try and clear off here. But the same thing could happen to Miguel Ramos. You know, 3 laps, say, later, the same thing could happen to Miguel Ramos, as that is Manuel Cerqueda just moving out of the way for Sally Ulick as he comes up towards turn 13.
I think their traffic problem will be sorted once Sally Ulick has cleared that car, so it will just be a straight battle again. It's interesting to see how Fabrizio Crestani, he's actually being held up by the lapped traffic there and only just gets past the Mercedes. His margin he was gaining on was kind of cut down to only a second this time round. So that's how much the traffic's impacted his charge. 7.4 seconds behind, 8 minutes to go. Obviously he's got a penalty. Key thing is he needs to stay ahead of Louis Pret, Vincent Abril car once the penalty's applied.
I tell you what, the gap is 13.8 seconds. And now Crestani has been given he's got, to remind you, Crestani has got a 15-second time penalty. His gap over the next car behind him, which is Louis Pret, is 13.8 seconds. So that's close. And I mean, he's going to be... What happens, though, if he catches the guys ahead?
Well, what happens if Pret doesn't actually catch the traffic at all and he's just got a clean track? We're going to see...
He's going to catch that traffic, isn't he?
Well, Pret's just about to come out of the final corner and he's got at least a pit straight and a half before he approaches one of the lapped cars. So he should have a clear run. Crestani's lap time at 2 minute 18. Actually, that does look wrong because Louis Pret's just at 2 minute 23. Even though he had no traffic to deal with that time around. Although Crestani was still 2 seconds.
The gap is now over 15 seconds, isn't it? It's 18.3, so Pret has been delayed clearly on that lap.
Wonder what happened to Pret in that final sector then, because he was up on the 2 drivers ahead in the other 2 sectors. Nick Moss is only 5 seconds behind him now. And we have Valentin Pierberg a further 3 seconds behind Patrick Kapinski, Marcelo Hahn, Ollie Milroy in 9th place. He's only a few tenths behind Marcelo Hahn for 8th, and that would be for 4th in the Pro-Am classification.
Crestani now has enough of a gap, but can he hold it there? Pret has to try and close down a 3-second gap now. This is very interesting. Ulick last time around was 2 tenths quicker than Miguel Ramos, but that's not going to be enough. He needs to be taking half a second, 6 tenths out of him a lap. There's more traffic coming up for Miguel Ramos in the shape of what I think is Aldo Vistante, because he is the next of the cars. He's the leader. He will not cause them any problems, I can tell you that. He's got a lead of 18 seconds, so he will be out of the way. I'm sure no problem for them. We've got to keep an eye on this gap, though, between Crestani and Pret, because it's both significant for this race as it's the last step on the podium, but it's also very significant in terms of the championship as well. Crestani, that car we look at, has to try and keep Pret at bay by at least 15 seconds.
And there's another thing for TF Sport to worry about, the Sally Ulick car. His car and the number 17, that's Louis Pret in the AF course. Their team manager has been asked to report to race control. We haven't seen any track limit warnings for either of these cars for some time. We did in the first stint, but not this time around, so we don't think it'll be track limits. What other potential reason could be is Crestani laps Aldo Festante by kind of barging him off at the final corner. But he's got the job done, and he's only 4 seconds behind Miguel Ramos in the lead now.
Here we go. This is another battle further back. This is the battle between Ollie Milroy and Marcelo Hahn, and this could be good news here for Patrick Kapinski and Christian Klein if Ollie Milroy can get past as they go up towards Blanchimont. This, I believe, would draw the 2 level on points if this overtake happens, so they will be cheering him on now as we go down towards the chicane. Ollie Milroy will not want to raid around here. He's the pro in that number 7 driver lineup. Round the chicane he goes. He's got Marcelo Hahn ahead of him, who is the AM in that driver lineup. Now down towards the first hairpin, La Source. You can see the lead car in Pro-Am just ahead, so there's a chance here a chance of we've got that Nick Moss car. Is it just up the road? No, that's a little bit further up the road as we make our way down the hill. We've got the Patrick Kaprinski car, sorry, up the road, and that's the last step on the Pro-Am podium. So that is what Ollie Milroy is chasing, a potential podium for that number 7 car. Let's see if he can do it. If they can do that, that will be 4 podiums in a row for the number 7 as they make their way down the Kemmel Straight.
Yeah, as they come on, they went very wide out of Eau Rouge, but kind of just kept it on the track limit slightly. Crestani's taken 8/10 out of Saliulik in the first sector, so there's only 1 second between those two now. As we saw actually further back at the very end, that might have been Ollie Mill. No, it's not Ollie Mill. Well, there was a battle going on further back at the very start of the Kemmel Straight there, because someone was flashing their lights to try and get past.
I don't know what's happening to Louis Pret, but he's starting to lose more time, and Crestani now has 20 seconds over him. I'll tell you what, Saliulik's surely going to allow Crestani to go through. It's down the inside into turn 11. Oh no, contact there between Ollie Milroy and our Pro-Am Championship leader, Marcelo Hahn, the Pro-Am Championship leader off the track. They both get going again. The yellow flags will wave. Here comes Tom Canning now. He could make up 2 positions here. And here is the battle for second place. Overall, it's Fabrizio Crestani versus Saliulik. Saliulik might as well let him go through because that Bentley is carrying a 15-second penalty.
Yeah, that Bentley had a lot of overspeed coming on as well, and if he does let Crestani through, he can challenge Miguel Ramos and bring him back into kind of overtaking distance of Saliulik. Looking back at the other battle, I don't think Tom Canning would have been allowed past because they immediately waved the yellow flags through those corners, so it's a shame for him because obviously he caught up right onto the rear of the 2 McLarens that collided, and it's not the first time we've seen McLarens collide over the last year and a half.
Right, here we go. So Milroy's going to go for the inside. This is a fast downhill left, and I just don't think that move was ever going to work, unfortunately. It's a really quick corner, that one. I haven't seen any overtaking there all weekend, really. And Ollie Milroy down the inside of Marcelo Hahn, and that's big news for the Pro-Am Championship because, I mean, Nick Moss and Joe Osborne, they've got a chance to narrow the gap now. Nick Moss is sat in 4th on 39 points. 55 it is for the leader. 10 points is for a class win.
And Tom Canning is still just behind Marcelo Hahn. Ollie Milroy has kind of emerged from this unscathed. Still only 7 seconds behind Patrick Kapinski. Now has a few seconds in hand over Hahn after the pair collided. And Canning is desperately trying to get through.
Now, Marcelo Hahn, I think, will be passed by Tom Canning just because of the pace that Tom Canning has, and he's done another personal best last time. He's about the third or fourth quickest on track. So, let's have a look. He's sat in 5th. That would drop him to 6th place in class. He would score very few points for that. So that's going to be big. I think he'd get about 2 points for that, for finish down in 6th. And we've got Kaprinski, who's going to finish in 3rd. So the Kaprinski car is going to score 6 points for that. It's going to be quite a few less for the Marcelo Hahn car, and that would mean a change of championship lead in Pro-Am if Marcelo Hahn gets passed by Tom Canning. But here we have a battle for second. We have 1:20 on the clock. We're about to go on the final lap. Fabrizio Crestani is carrying a 15-second penalty though, but Saliulik nevertheless, if he has to let him through, he will, but of course, he's still doing his best to chase down Miguel Ramos in the lead of the race. Round the final chicane they go then, and up towards the start-finish line. Miguel Ramos coming across the line there to start what will be the final lap of the race. Saliulik has done his best to close the gap down, but in the end, the gap has extended since that incident happened as we make our way now out of turn 1 and up towards Eau Rouge, Elliot.
Yeah, a brilliant battle so far. It's a surprise Canning can't get past Hahn. Saliulik's actually built up a bit of an advantage just at the first corner alone. Fabrizio Crestani was all over, and it might be because Crestani knows he's got the overspeed coming through Eau Rouge, as we actually see Aldo Festante just go past our commentary box window, being lapped by Louis Pret, who has dropped another 1.5 seconds, and they're going side by side down the Kemmel Straight for second place. They actually look visibly closer to Miguel Ramos this time, and Crestani has made the move. Now, actually, that's probably right. Slippery track at turn 9. That is the exit of Lacombe. We're going to hopefully see them. That's the corner they're going through right now. Both of them make through it cleanly, but that's probably why Ramos was looking a little tentative on the entry to Lacombe there.
Ulick's still second. Crestani's got that penalty. Maybe they'll appeal it, I don't know, but Ulick is still going to be second place. He let him through. It was a definitely looked like a lift there. Maybe might have just been the power of the Bentley, but I don't think Ulick was too bothered about that. As Miguel Ramos has gone wide at Pouon. Miguel Ramos has gone wide at Pouon there. Looked like he'd gone wide to me. Let's have a look as they come back on.
He's definitely made it for the... It looks wet. You can see the light reflecting off the track. The track is definitely wet.
It's wet out there. Miguel Ramos is going to have to be careful here, and Crestani will be taking risks if he has to, because he's going to have a 15-second gap as they now make their way down towards Stavilo for the final time. And Miguel Ramos went right into Pouon. You can see the car, the front end of the car really moving under braking, but so far so good. He's on the final lap of the race, and for the championship this is exactly what they needed, because fourth place will be Louis Pret. Fourth place will score him 8 points. It's going to be 15 for Miguel Ramos and Enrique Chavez, and that will be their championship lead, up to 8 points going in towards the final round, which was exactly what it was coming into this weekend. It's going to be the fourth win here for Miguel Ramos as he comes out of the final corner. His first here since 2016. Miguel Ramos up to the line, takes a crucial race win for the championship leaders. Is this one of the moments that helps them to the title? Second place will be Sally Ulick for TF Sport, and with the penalty applied, Crestani will finish in third place to make it 3 podium for Team Lazarus and 2 for this weekend. Louis Pret will be fourth place after that penalty. That is a very good effort indeed. Louis Pret coming through now, but we wait to see Nick Moss. He will be next across the line to take a Pro-Am win, and it will be the third class win for that car. Out of the final corner they come. Nick Moss is going to win in Pro-Am. Up to the line he comes. Optimum Motorsport on the top step once again. And second place, not quite the hat-trick of wins he wanted, but Valentin Pierreberg second, and a crucial third place for Pratchett Koprinski and Christian Kleen as they come across the line. Ollie Milroy will be fourth in the Pro-Am class. Coming up to the line, it's a drag race between Marcelo Hahn and Canning, but in the end, Marcelo Hahn finishes fifth in class as pulling in to the pit lane there. Elliot's going to rush off to do pose. And before you do, Elliot, what did you make of the race?
Great race. I think Louis Pret got dealt, well, Vincent Abro, Louis Pret got dealt a bad hand with the handicap penalty, and although they did drop a bit more time in that final stint, they were close, and the additional penalty has now been applied, so they finished 32 seconds off the leader. Miguel Ramos got a bit lucky there on the final lap. You know, he was the first driver into all those corners, so he had to figure out how wet it was, and you can see him celebrating with his team there. Teo Martin Motorsport picking up another win this season. Sally Ulick was almost 6 seconds back in second. For much that time, it was a 2.5 second gap until Crestani got involved. Crestani's penalty obviously drops him back to third. And now we've got everyone through. Tom Canning didn't actually overtake Marcelo Hahn. He finished 0.113 seconds behind Hahn in the battle for 9th place.
And that means that Patrick Koprinski and Christian Kleen now lead the championship in Pro-Am on 61 points. Marcelo Hahn loses that championship lead with that result, and he will be on 58 points going in to the final round. But your championship leaders overall will be those two gentlemen there. They are on the top step for the second time this season. It's a fourth win here at Spa for Miguel Ramos, and his first since 2016. It's been a long time since they stood on the top step this season. Last time we saw them on the top step was the first race at Red Bull Ring. But as they said, finally again, they are race winners, and they now go into the final round with an 8-point advantage. Sally Ulick and Charlie Eastwood finish in second place. A good end to the weekend for them. Crestani and Metler finish in third place. 3 podiums for them now this season. Louis Pret and Vincent Abreu, damage limitation for them. That big handicap will now go to Ramos and Chavez with that win here going into the final round. So they will have a chance in race 1 to score some big points over them. Moss and Osborne were your Pro-Am winners. Pierreberg joins them on the podium. Koprinski likewise with Christian Kleen. 4th place for Ollie Milroy and Brendan Irib. Marcelo Hahn 5th in class. Tom Canning finishing 10th place alongside Ahmed El Harthi to round off their first weekend in the championship. Jens Lieberhauser leads the AM class, and it's Fastante who takes the win in GT Cup Open Europe ahead of Cercada, Gillion, Villanueva, Silva, Negro. Well, there you have it. 108 points for Chavez and Ramos, 100 for Pret and Abreu, 88 for Ulick and Eastwood, Crestani and Metler on 63. They've already moved into 4th place, then ahead of Marcelo Hahn and Christian Kleen. That's round 5 wrapped up for you. Round number 6 will be our next stop of the championship in 2 weeks' time. Well, let's round off the drivers we are going to see on the podium. 2 podiums for them this weekend, by far their best weekend of the season. Fabrizio Crastani and Yannick Mettler finishing 3rd. Yet another podium for them this season. They're 6th so far. Sally Ulick and Charlie Eastwood finished 2nd place here in race 2. Seems what could have been for Sally Ulick by his reaction. But taking the race win, they had to deal with pressure all throughout. But Miguel Ramos and Enrique Chavez take the win for the 2nd time this season.
Enrique Chavez, Miguel Ramos, this time everything worked well. Great victory here at Spa. It's always special. Enrique.
Yeah, of course, Spa is a mythical track, so it was amazing to finish P1. We were chasing this win for a long time, and finally we got it. We didn't do pole, we had to do from P3, but in the end we managed everything well. Good place from Miguel, good place from me, and the end result was P1, which leaves us both happy.
Miguel, of course, a lot of pressure in the final laps, but nothing seems to bother you.
No, it was okay. I was controlling the second. Then Fabrizio came along, but I knew that he had a penalty because they refuel. Anyway, it was a good victory, good for the championship. And I want to dedicate this victory to Fabrizio's father, because he's in hospital and he's a very good friend of mine also. So to him.
Yeah, to him, and well done to you guys. Podium now.
Thank you.
Our thoughts echoed there of Miguel Ramos for Fabrizio's father. Well, there you go. That's race number 2 done. By the way, there was no further investigation between the incident for cars 16 and 7. So Marcelo Hahn and Ollie Milroy going in towards turn 11. That's been seen as a racing incident, and there will be no further action there. There are the cars lined up. Podiums will be coming up next. What a weekend it's been. 2 wins for Aldo Vestante. Let's go and hear
Aldo
from him.
Vestante, winner in the GT Cup. This time you were challenged in the first stint by the Aston of Pro Sport, but everything went well.
Yeah, it wasn't the easiest day at the office. I think I hit some debris in Eau Rouge in the first lap, and I think my car was damaged slightly, so I had a huge understeer. So I needed to adapt to that, and in the first laps I was losing quite a bit of time, and Nico was really quick. And when I saw the attack, I just took no risk, letting go and tried to follow him, tried to build a gap on the real adversary, which is the Audi. And then we chose to overcut because we had quite a good pace, and the overcut paid off. We were P1 after the stops, and then it was just about bringing it home.
And now it's almost done, I think, for the title. Almost.
I won't tell you what I'm going to touch right now.
Okay. Touch the cup, son.
Well, let's look back at the highlights from the race then. Leading the way was the AF Corsa car. Vincent Abril led us down towards turn number 1 after a brilliant start as he turned in towards La Source. The TF Sport car there being challenged for 2nd in the early stages of the race. All got through just about safely through turn 1, but that would not be the case going into Eau Rouge. Negro picking up a problem. Lieberhardt, Florian Schultzman to dive down the inside. There was contact, and unfortunately that would see further damage to the right rear of Negro's car, as he would then have to come in and retire from the race. Great battles, but this was Nico Verdonk taking the lead over Aldo Vestante in the GT Cup Open Europe Class. The two would have a great battle in the opening half of the race. Pit stops were next. Vincent Abril came in to hand over to Louis Pret. They'd have to stay in for 100 seconds, which put them on the back foot for the rest of the race. Their charge back through the field was made a little bit easier with the likes of Valentin Pierreberg moving out the way. This was Ollie Milroy going up the inside of Marcelo Hahn. Contact between the two. No further investigation post-race. Fabrizio Crastani jumped in the car and immediately started to get on the front foot. That was when he went past Sally Ulick. However, he had a 15-second penalty, so we're dropped to 3rd. But taking the win, their 2nd win of the season, up towards the line, it would be Teo Martin Motorsport, who will now have an 8-point advantage going in to the final round of the season. Ramos and Chavez on the top step. There you have it, the highlights of the race. and you can tell just how much that meant to them. Finishing in third place then for Brito Crestani and Yannick Mettler for Team Lazarus. Next, we welcome onto the podium Sally Ulick and Charlie Eastwood for TF Sport. Not quite the weekend they might have hoped for, but, you know, nevertheless, they end it with a podium. Further podiums for them this season. It's finished 6 podiums now, but taking the win, Teo Martin Motorsport, who go into the final round with 8 points advantage. It's Miguel Ramos and Enrique Chavez. We will get Teo Martin Motorsport on to the podium as well, and we'll have the anthem. Brilliant stuff. Ramos and Chavez on the top step. Ulick and Eastwood alongside Crestani and Mettler as well. Teo Martin Motorsport on the top step. Second in the championship, Pret and Abril just missing out, but they will no doubt be taking the fight to the guys on the top step of the podium going into the fighting round. And going into that final round, our pro-am battle is just as close, only 3 points between the top 2 in the championship, Christian Klein, Patrick Kaprinski, and Marcelo Hahn in second. That's as long as my maths is correct, and I did it very quickly. But let's just say there's not a lot between them going into the last round of the season. Well, thank you very much for joining us this weekend at Spa. We will be back in 2 weeks for the season finale at Barcelona. We'll see you then.
Hello to Christian Hook, which is not here today.
Christian clear.
Bonsoir met podcast of vandaag.